Hi, it's Sarah Jane here from Natural Heating, and today we're privileged enough to come and do a video on a clock double-sided on a new set. This carrying my wood in, and this is Chris's new house. They're not moved in yet, but we have got all our stuff with us. I'm going to walk the plank because, oops, hello you. I'm going to have a look-see. This has just been put in this morning. Right, so here you are. These guys are not moved in yet, but this stove has been installed and fitted today. And I was given a chance to come and do it before they start getting on with lots of other different work. So we'll have a wee walk around and have a look at it. So this is quite a large open plan room. Plenty of windows, and this side has got a vaulted ceiling, so much higher. It looks like the television plans for a television article there. So this is probably going to be the side that is most likely to be used. Now with the clock, you only get controls on one side, so that's why I would think that this will be the most popular side. For some reason, when the camera is reversed and I'm pointing at myself, we've got an awful lot more light and it's brighter, so we'll try this way around anyway. So this is connecting on to a pumice liner up here. And I'm just going to take out the gloves and the manual. 2 ash pan tools, one for either side. Data plate, and we'll just check everything in the ash pan because I've done that before. And always check this. Parts left in there. Sometimes there's spare paint or gloves or warranty ticket thingies that you need to keep. So make sure you don't burn them and just check it out. So one-sided controls on these and a door handle on each side because it's a double-sided stove. The other side. Now the doors are opposite each other, so they hinge on the left and close on the right on both sides. And the doors do go right back. We've got a good amount of clearance there, and it's not going to bash anything off the walls. So this is a really nice deep fireplace opening. Without a tape measure, I'm going to say that that's probably about 1.2 metres deep from front to back. The stove itself is about 600 deep and there's a good 300 or more clear. Yeah, that's 6 inches. I'd say there's a good 12 inches of space in front of either side, and they are going to put a declaration mark here, so there'll be a separate line for where the hearth is to be. So I have brought some kiln dried logs with me because I always like, where possible, to start on kiln dried and preferably the same stuff. Local stoves that are going out with the local guys that are installing, I typically usually send a bag of kiln dried logs with the fitters to do their first initial kindling run or installation. Now the fitters don't work for me, they're all self-employed, but I usually send my stuff out for our local guys anyway, going their commission and they're picking it all up for shop customers. So what we're going to do is start with 2 or 3 kiln dried logs in the base of this stove as a bed, and then put the kindling on. Right, so it's a big deep stove on the inside, so I'll start off with 3. And then I brought our own kindling stuff with us, so we'll just stack that nicely on the inside. fire lighter, and then a few more bits of kindling. So the air vents work exactly as they would on the other clock models. They are open when they are to the right hand side. So I've got them both fully open. Flip that fire lighter, and I'm just going to leave the door slightly ajar to start giving it some updraft. It's really cold outside today, and it's really cold down here at the moment too, because they've not had any form of heating in here. This is the first of it, and they want to start drying the place out and warming it up, because it'll be a couple of weeks yet before they're ready to move in. For once, I've got a cold red nose rather than a hot red nose. So this won't take long to get started at all. Now the Clock double-sided is really quite a large capacity stove, but it's got a huge controllability range. Now it's 10 kilowatt nominal, so that is the equivalent of 10 1 metre wide single radiators. And typically that heat is then split between 2 rooms, and that's at its midpoint. So it can really go down to about 6 and as high as about 14 at its maximum. And again, that heat output is split between 2 rooms. So you're looking at anything between 3 and about 7 kilowatt per room per side. When you have a room that is smaller on one side and larger on the other, you may wish to balance your heat output to the 2 rooms unevenly by putting 1 or 2 fans on the top. Now fans make an incredible difference to the performance or to the amount of heat that you get in the room, because it brings the heat down from the ceiling height down to where you are, so you feel it a lot more quicker, so you get a lot more usable heat. So inside this clock we have a retainer bar on each side, and it is vermiculite lined with a heavy duty steel baffle, which is also vermiculite lined on top, I think, for more insulation. Now what Clock often do, and you need to be careful of when they're first delivered, is they tend to silicone this baffle in place on top of the fire bricks. So those baffles don't really want to come out until after you've had a fire and burnt that on. It's just to stop them moving in transit. There's a single piece solid steel grate, which is probably about 12mm thick in the base, and it weighs an absolute ton. Yet no anybody has ever burnt out a clock grate. Clock grates are so seriously robust and heavy duty made that they last a long, long time, and these are really heavy, really thick, solid, well-produced stoves that are just built to last. They're one of the most honeable control stoves in the industry. They're ridiculously heavyweight. This stove is about 175 kilos and classed as a 4-man lift. It does have adjustable legs. You can take the doors off to make it lighter, but not much else than that. So you do want plenty of bodies on hand to get it inside without causing damage to either yourself or your surroundings. So I'm just going to shut that door over slightly and let this start taking a heat and hopefully start pulling it and warming through that chimney. Now, as the Clock Blithfield double-sided has a nominal heat output of 10 kilowatt, that does mean that you require an air vent somewhere in the room to an outside wall, regardless of the age of property. If your house was built before 2008, then the first 5 kilowatts are not counted, so you would only need air supply for 5 kilowatt. However, in a new build house such as this one, you do need the full 10 kilowatt worth of air supply. Typically that is 550 millimeters squared of air per kilowatt. So 10 kilowatt would be 5,500 square millimeters. That's usually, off the top of my head, about a 4-inch diameter core vent through a wall with a cover on both sides. I think our Ryan's mini air cooler only does to 3250 instead of 5500. Need to double check that to confirm for you. So the kindling's now starting to take, and it's taken quite well, quite quickly, as you probably see behind me. Doesn't take too long. And by using the top-down lighting method, it will take one row at a time and heat the chimney as quick as possible, and then eventually just take fire to the logs. We're on to the 4th row of kindling now, so it won't be long before the logs take. You can probably hear it because it's very echoey in here because it's a big empty building at the moment. Which is good because at least you'll hear me. So these fire lighters that I like to use are called Quick Fire. They come in tubs of 100 and they are in a cellulose packet, and you just like that because it's plant material. These are Scandinavian made. They work out at £9.99 for 100. We only use one at a time, that's all you need, and they light really well and really easily, and they don't smell of a thing. So they come in a big cardboard drum with a lid. I say big, it's about 8 inches high. And for most people in the norm, that is the bulk of a winter's burn, so one packet typically lasts the majority of the winter season. So that's starting to take quite nicely, and as you will see, the logs on the bottom are already starting to catch, so it won't be long before the rest of it takes, and we've got quite a big fire in there. I can start to feel a tiny bit of heat coming through the glass. Now when we look at the Clock double-sided stoves, you will see that they've got these holes, these convection holes on the top and on the sides. So they are very good at pushing the heat all round and out into that open space to heat the room at quite a speed. You'll also see the paint is starting to warm very slightly. There's a change in temperature in the actual surface of this stove already. It's just really cold in here, but it won't take long to start warming through, and then as this heats up, it'll all change colour. It'll go a bit more shiny in parts and matte in others as the paint starts to bake on, and you probably will see it fume because we usually do it as the paint bakes onto clock. We definitely have a brighter view in the cameras this way around than my mobile for some reason, so we will keep it this way when we can. I want to keep my door open for a bit longer until the logs are properly caught, and just to give it a chance to warm through, because this is stone cold yet. There's no heat coming out through the top yet. It's, when I say stone cold, it's not the temperature it was when I came in, although we've just lit it. There's a slight bit of warmth in it, but it's nowhere near hot. It's just because it's really chilly in there. As there's no heating at all. It's not like walking into somewhere and it's already like 18 degrees before you light it. It's probably about 3 degrees in here, which is good. It's a good test how quick we can heat this up. Now, Chris has got a lot of Celotex and insulation in here. I think he said it's about 10 inches thick. So modern buildings really don't take an awful lot of heat, so hopefully it'll warm quite quickly. Right, kindling fire is now established, so I've just shut the door. And what we're going to see is the inside starting to go black, which is exactly as expected because that is carbon starting to form because the stove is still cold inside, as is the chimney because it's not heated up yet. But it is starting to take a bit of warmth through the body on the top, not yet on the sides, just a little bit. So as the Clock double-sided has 2 fronts and no back, the air controls for the double-sided are actually underneath the stove, as you can see here. Therefore, it's really important to use a pallet truck or a forklift to lift the stove directly underneath. It must be on a pallet underneath or lifted by the top, because we don't want to damage any of those bits under there, or you won't be able to turn those cogwheels. So take care and just think before you're moving them, because I have had people bend those dials before and you just got to be careful on moving it. Those don't get damaged really. But foresight can be a wonderful thing. So it's starting to heat up quite well now. We've got a good fire going. Just say this is a good size room, and that stove there has got to have about a foot or so of gap either side, with a good bit more above. And it's solid brick behind the back of that beam, so it's well protected and well away from the appliance. A lovely big space once it's got furniture in there. I wonder if we could see it from the front door. Raining out there now. So yeah, even when you come in the front door, you can see right the way through, and that's going to be a really beautiful focal point. The light's starting to go outside now because it's getting on in the day. It's 3 o'clock. And it is winter. We are on the 23rd of December. So, what a nice present for Christmas to just get your fire in. So, another couple of weeks and these guys will hopefully be able to move into that new house. Isn't she lovely? This is the side with the controls on it. And now, standing a good 4 feet or so, that's more than that, away from this burner, I can start to feel the heat coming off it already. I can start to feel my heat on my knees. And for this, that's not bad going, given it's so cold in here and has had no heating at all. To heat all this very nicely once it's had half a chance and been going a little while, but it's only going to have a short fire today to let everything start setting and going off. But it's looking good, really pretty. So let's see what it can do in the terms of air control. So this is starting to heat up quite nicely, and if I open the door, you can see it's pulling well with no spillage. There's no heat in the handles or anything yet. It's going to take a bit of time to heat up. The paint is starting to go off on the sides and the top. We can see the changes in the paint colour. Now, not that it needs one, because it really doesn't, but I'm going to put another piece of wood in here, a final piece of wood in here. The reason I'm putting that in is I want you to be able to see what the air controls do in this fire and how reactive they are, so I'm looking for plenty of flame. Typically I reload in chunky red ember, and there's probably, although this is the first logs in this stove, there's a good amount of burn time in that yet. But we want to actually physically show you today what this is capable of doing. So lots of flame there now. I'm going to turn off the bottom primary air. So all the control for burnt wood is done by your left hand side control, turning from right to left to turn it off. Kind of lefty-loosey, righty-tighty, like you're turning a tap. So I'm just going to turn that air control down. If we turn it right down, you see it takes about 10 to 15 seconds to react and burn off all that oxygen in that firebox and really slow down the burn. Isn't that lovely? You can hear the change, probably, because it's so echoey in here, being empty. You can probably hear the change in the actual speed and the noise of the flame. It's calmed right down. And we'll open it up again. And then I'll turn it down slowly. Now, some people have said that clock air controls are noisy. I really don't think they are. I think what you'll find is this is just a big echoey building, so you can hear me turning it, and you can hear everything because there's no soft furnishing or carpets or furniture, curtains, that kind of thing. So there's no noise deadening in here at all. There we go. So I'll let you have a quick look at the fire view again from a distance. I'm going to just take that a tiny touch back up. I think we'll probably leave it at that for today, just to let it burn itself down and out and finish baking the paint on. And there we are. So it's definitely better light with the camera this way around. Not easy doing everything backwards. Boy, there's a really good view through this room. It can be seen right out through that door. Thanks to Chris and family for letting me come here today and video this clock double-sided in situ, and I hope you've enjoyed this on-site video. It's something that I couldn't run in a test rig in the unit because the double-sided isn't an easy one to do. So the only real way of doing that is to physically do it on location, and it really is a privilege to be able to come and do one and to see it looking so lovely. So wish them all the best in their new home, and hopefully they get moved in soon to be able to enjoy it, and at least it will start being able to put some heat into this building in this very cold and chilly weather. If you enjoy our videos, it would be incredibly helpful if you like and share them, or follow our YouTube channel to catch up with the next ones. We've got some really interesting ones coming up very soon. Right, well, I can't see Chris, so maybe I'll see him on the way out. Time to go walk the ironclad. Looks fab through the doors.